Sige po, let's pray. It's good to invoke the presence of the Lord first. Thank you, Lord.
Afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Lord, for this afternoon, Lord, session. We recognize your presence in our groups, Lord. And Lord, kinukumit namin sa iyo ang aming klase ngayong hapon. Lord, guide us, our professor. You give him more wisdom, Lord, and sa amin, Lord, na tulungan nyo kami, Lord. Help us to understand, Lord, our lesson today, Lord. And make us attentive, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay. So there are 22 of us. That's good. That's a good number.
Afternoon,
I would like to most of you who have sent their paper already, their critique to Google Drive, and you have given me your access already to your Google Drive. Ganun muna ang gagawin natin, ano? Whatever we'll be doing, be sure that you send me your link to your Google Drive so I can also access your Google Drive. This is our procedure until such time na medyo okay na yung UCUI Connect. Sa ngayon, marami pong problema yun eh. Pero look at it, magandang program yun, magandang connection, magandang platform. Put all our activities, our outputs, and other things will be uploaded to that. Pero sa ngayon medyo working for me to know the others. I have to check that with other professors. Pero mukhang yung mga pictures ng mga klase, screenshots to UCU IGS. So I suppose that hindi pa masyadong convinced sa kanila yung so anyway, nag-improve yung mga paper ninyo, hindi na gaya nung nauna na ang paper ninyo is basta na lang kung ano-ano yung naisulat doon, parang okay na. Just improve following the guidelines that I have given you, action or critic paper. Ganun palagi, I would like you to follow that, remember that kind of format, have the title, and then your name. Do not forget your name, whatever you write. Many students before, na ganun, nakakalimutan na. They forget the names, even in examinations. They forget to write their names, and that is very bad. Have all graduate students to write their names, whatever do, know who you are. Yung last na final examination, meron pang isa. Sa admit ng final examination niya, wala. Buti na lang. Anyway, ganun I think you should remember the outline that I've given to you, the title of the output or the article, and then the name, and then yung first part of it should be what is the topic all about. What is the topic all about, and you should acknowledge or document all sources about the sources of information for that particular topic. Kasi in most cases, I will just give one reference, pero you don't need to limit yourself to that particular reference only. You can augment it. You can support what your allegations, your discussions, your information from others says. Acknowledge. Kasi ano yun, magandang hack yun. You always acknowledge where the information came from. And always summarize the ideas from the information. Unless, of course, you are compelled to quote, pero short lang dapat because it summarizes the whole thing. Yung quote na yun would summarize the whole thing. Okay, so title of the topic, then your name, then what is the topic all about from different sources, and then your reaction, of course. Do you agree or disagree? That's your reaction. And if you agree, you give your reasons. If you don't agree, you give your reasons as well. Doon naman ang kagandahan ng critique or reaction paper. It's not actually the topic itself, but how do you react to the topic? How do you react to the information that other people has given you? Your other sources. I will admit Hazel muna. Hello, Hazel. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
All right. So after your comment, your reaction to the paper, whether you agree or you disagree, and giving your reasons for disagreeing or agreeing, then you make the conclusions. That's it. I recommend this kind of outline even in the comprehensive examination. In comprehensive examinations, you're asked a certain question, and you should understand what is being asked. Ayun, kaagad-agad you have to tell what is it all about. What is it all about? And then your reaction to the information, and then my conclusion. Tatlo lang, para simple. With that kind of outline, you can answer any kind of item, examination items uh, that you encounter, whether it is in the comprehensive examination or any other examination for that matter that requires essay type of items. Okay, so as a sort of review, we will just go through yung mga topics, subtopics, paper. Yung una-una, yung why is it that basic education is being supported or being funded by the government? Will you just repeat what you have written in your paper? Eddie, will you ask you? Eddie, what did you answer in your paper?
Hi, sir.
Yes.
Sir, doon sa
Sa paper mo mismo.
basic education, sir.
Basic education.
Oh. Sir, I believe it's basic education is a right because
Yes.
uh, as embodied in the Constitution, sir.
But there must be a basis for the Constitution.
Yes, sir. In our Constitution, every child must have a basic education, sir. And education is
Yung nga nakalagay doon sa Constitution, but what is the basis of that? Yung sinulat mo, sasabihin mo na lang,
Ay, yes sir. Sige po.
why is it the right? Unang-una, it is written in the Constitution. Ano pa?
Yes sir. And according to the United Nations, sir, education is a right to which all human beings are entitled, sir.
Okay, of course, United Nations and the Constitution have a basis also. Why do you think it is a right? Can we have another one? Melissa?
Sir,
Melissa, yes.
sir, basic education are right and duty because having an education helps people to access all of their other human rights, and
Uh-huh.
and it is a duty and right because it gives us the opportunity to learn on different things that are useful in our daily lives and that
Mhm.
can be productive, sir.
Okay, any more, Jonathan?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, Noraima po, sir.
Okay, Lorema, you will be first.
Yes. Basic education is a right and duty. Yes, I agree. In Philippine context, there is a law that provides education for all regardless of gender, affiliation, race, religion, and status of life. This means that even the marginal people have the right to access education from kinder to senior high school. It is required by law that every citizen in the country must attain education up to certain basic level. This right
Okay.
is also exercised by even those persons with disabilities. On the other hand, basic education is a duty of the government to ensure that everyone has access to quality education by expanding funds for education. This means that basic education must be applicable even to the poorest of the poor by providing programs like free education to ensure that every citizen have access to basic education. Now, as a teacher, I am mandated to serve as communication channel so that this program of the government is well disseminated to people, especially to far-flung areas and people whose concerns are financial capability to send their children to school. I must ensure that I perform the duty of the government to encourage, motivate, and inform people of the right to basic education.
Okay, that's good. Of course, tama yun. It is in the Constitution itself. And ID said even the United Nations recognize that right. But then, anong basis ng gobyerno kaya? What is the basis of government to put it in our Constitution? The framers of the Constitution must have a basis for putting it, including it in our Constitution.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Fidel.
Okay. Yeah. Perhaps primarily it is to help the government tackle poverty. For we believe that once a person becomes educated, he also becomes a productive member of the society.
Of course,
So
that is one.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it has become a right in order to perhaps provide empowerment and also yield important development benefits like of course increase the or developing the economy of a certain country, perhaps because there will be more there will it is expected that there will be more people who will have work, who will be employed because they are more able and capable of doing such tasks.
Okay. You have answered that, and you have answered another topic actually, because education can help the whole country, and it's but there is a basic thing about right. to give an opinion
Yes,
regarding
sir.
that?
May I?
Yeah, okay, Emiliano.
Yes,
Then
sir.
Hazel, Hazel will be next.
Addition dun sa mga nabanggit nila, sir, basic education is a right because education is a vital for the development of human civilizations in various areas, be it in economy, family, governance, security, and others.
No,
Access to basic education.
excuse me, Emiliano, we interrupt you there because you're answering a different issue. Why government is supporting the education. But what I'm saying is yung very personal na basis why it is in the Constitution. The framers of the Constitution were thinking about that. What is that basis?
Maybe education is for all.
Yeah, it is for all. But what is the basis for that? For that is Hazel. Can we hear from you? Hazel, why has basic education become a right?
Yes, sir. May I?
Yeah, okay, Jonathan.
All right. So, basic education is a human rights. Yes, I agree, sir, that it is a human. It is a duty and a right because before the Philippine made the Constitution, the mother of this is the International Declaration of Human Rights po. So, doon po
Okay, we know that. We know that Declaration of Human Rights, the Constitution. But what is the basis? What could be the basis of the people who framed this as a right to be included in our Constitution? What do you think is the basis?
education inequality, sir,
Mhm.
all over the world.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
When you have a, when the government will support that program, a part of yung policy of equality, equal access to education. But what is the basis? Hazel, I was asking you, Hazel, kanina. Hazel, are you still there? Hazel? Hazel? Wala na yata si
Hello,
Hazel.
sir.
How about Anne?
Well,
Anne, first.
Sir,
Anne Merkel?
afternoon po. Sir, maaring sa dami kasi ng tao, baka nakita po ng government ng government before na marami pa ring mga tao, mga bata na hindi nakakapag-aral. Kaya po na maybe they made the decision na ibigay na lang yung karapatan na yun at saka magkaroon sila ng duty to finance these children para at least makapasok na po sila sa school.
Okay, I'll just give you.
hello, sir. Hello, sir. Sir,
Noraima,
Noraima
are
po
you...
ulit. Yes.
Okay.
Probably the basis of this law is the fundamental right or the universal right inherent to all of us.
Mayroon na
And
yun, mayroon na yun. Alam natin yun, Noraima. Alam natin. Rights
sige
na,
po.
human rights. The
Okay.
basis of that. Hindi lang naman sila makaisip na gano'n, ilagay na human rights or sa constitution. Mayroong basis.
Nag-share nila sir tapos
Yes, and
research po sila. Nag-gather po ng data kung based po sa observation nila na may mga estudyante po or mga batang hindi po nakakapag-aral.
actually you don't need the survey to do that.
Kita lang po.
Anyone can think about that. Ito, there are basic
What about,
needs. Yes. Romeo, you want to say
yes,
something?
sir. What about
Okay,
freedom
Riel.
and the empowerment of the people, sir? The basics of
Sir.
basic education. Freedom and empowerment
Come
of the
again.
people. Freedom and empowerment of the people.
Hindi yun ang pinaka-basic eh. It is considered a basic need of human beings. Basics are food, shelter,
Education.
ano ba?
Education.
Education.
Yes, sir.
The right to have information, to be able to get information. That's education. Okay? Uh, do you agree with that? It is a
Yes, sir.
basic need. Food, shelter, clothing. Tapos yan, education. You can improve as a person. Without these basic needs, well, you are less than a person maybe. Hindi naman siguro. But the thing is, meron kang kulang talaga. Yun ang basis noon. The basis for thinking that it should be included in the Constitution, that it should be included in the human rights. Because of that, it is a basic need. All right. Now, the question of why government supports basic education. Some of you have already stated that um, it is a duty of God for basic education because una-una, educated, they can help with the development, the national development, di ba? And improving the country. More opportunities for the country will be because if a country has more educated people, there are more opportunities that will come to a country like that. Now, why is tertiary education a privilege? In spite of the fact na mayroon tayong mga programa, we have already some programs that the government has been supporting in a way tertiary education. By the way, up, even before there is a specific scholarship for individuals in this tertiary education, meron na actually support from government because government is included some budget for building of schools, building of laboratories in tertiary education, like language laboratory, mga ganyan, science laboratory, and support. So there is already an existing support for government. However, there has been an improvement recently na education is being supported by the government. For scholarships, but of course, it cannot be generalized to. It is not. It could not be general service to the people, to all people, of some constraints. Diba? Now, why do you think then that tertiary education, in spite of the support of government, is still a privilege?
Sir.
Yes,
Hello, sir.
Sir.
Ray. Yes, Ray. Yes.
Not all individuals have the opportunity to get actually tertiary education. The reason behind that, there are some they could not access or met yung tertiary education because they are not capable of the high qualification standards and lack of interest, because some institutions have a qualification standard that the students or learners can't meet because may mga pass yung mga at least 90% of the general average, something like that. So those are standards that the students, especially in the various schools, there are some students that they do not have those kind of average. So those are maybe the some reasons. Not only that, uh, they need to pass the admission test, then of the requirements, something that like that, sir.
You're saying that it is open to some people, but not all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For example, the state they have open admission, active retention,
Yes.
selective tension, selective graduation. Uh, it is open admission. In other words, you can be admitted as long as you pass the entrance examination. If you do not make good with your
How
academic
how to maintain the
standing,
grades?
oh
Yes.
yes, you will be kicked out after one semester.
Yes. Those
Uh,
are the reason why others can go to tertiary level because of some, of course,
okay,
some standards.
okay. That is in the case of the state universities and government institutions. How about in the private institutions?
When it comes to private institutions, sir, maybe we we are about to discuss on the tuition fees. Tuition fees is really a large amount, especially the poor cannot afford to give tuitions, especially to private schools because we know that private schools have yung mataas yung mga tuition fees nila.
Okay, yes, and only those who have money of support are actually determined who can go into such tertiary education. Of course, yung mga iba na determined, although they do not have the money, they can still go. They can still get support from people, get scholarship from people. But still, it's still a privilege. Not everyone will be able to get tertiary education. More in the graduate school. Not everyone has the access to graduate school. There was even a time when graduate schooling is limited to students who have access to Manila, to Baguio, and other places where there is graduate school. Because you have local graduate schools in local areas like in Ordaneta, meron tayong isang state university, Pangasinan State University, the Ordaneta City University. Institutions are already offering, but there was a time and we cannot have such an easy access to graduate education. All right, we go to another topic. Kung main source ng financing education, of course, it is implied that it's government, also private sources like families of the students, their sources. Those are the main. So private individuals are also sources of education. There are what you call these stakeholders of education are also sources of. Um, can you give us and describe to us some iniquities or inequalities in education? It is true that basic education is for everyone. Government is giving us equal access to education, but there is still of inequality in education. Where is that? In what sectors do you find this inequality? Eddie, can we hear you? Where is the inequality? Among certain sectors of society. In most urban areas, medyo okay na yon, hindi na masyado yung inequality. But still, in some sectors of society, there's still inequality, especially in the higher levels of education. Where do you find that?
Marginalized group of people,
Yes, Romeo, are you saying
sir.
something? Go ahead.
Educational inequality is the unequal distribution of academic resources, including but not limited to school funding, qualified and experienced teachers, books, and technologies to socially excluded communities. These communities tend to be historically disadvantaged and oppressed more times than not. Individuals belonging to the marginal groups of people are also denied access to schools with abundant resources, sir. Particularly the
Okay.
less fortunate
So
people.
the inequality exists because of distance to the educational institutions. That's one. Another is the level of standard of living of the families. But in certain areas, women and men, we find inequality between the educated men and the educated women. There are still some areas na national aspect to it. Kaya sabi, women, tama na yan, education na yan.
Sir, yes sir.
Diba?
Mag-aasawa yan, sabi.
Oo. Tama, nakagraduate ka na naman ng college, wag na yung doctoral, wag na yung masters. Na ganyan, di ba? So that is where you find inequality. Ang una, because of tradition, because of access, distance of to education institutions like and then another thing is hindi pa rin pare-pareho ang standard ng ating mga education institutions. If you compare UP, De La Salle, yeah, University, UST, with other institutions in the country, meron pa rin agwat, di ba? It is. Pero hindi na gaano. Yan ang the wonderful thing about it is hindi na masyado. At is around the earth, around the globe, ganun pa rin, especially among countries that are dominated by stringent religion. The women are deprived from acquiring education. Pakistan, for example, Turkey, even in Saudi Arabia, the women are still deprived some. In most cases, I should say, not only sometimes. In most cases, there are where government are um, ruled by stringent uh, religious beliefs, like Pakistan, Bangladesh,
India, sir, India.
Turkey, yung mga Iran, mga ganon. Medyo deprived pa rin yung certain sectors of the society, especially among women. They are deprived of education in pursuing higher education. Okay, another one. Yung types of measurements that is being applied to education. sumagot noon, nung unang ng mga unang papers, may sumagot na yung types of measurement is the relative measurement. Hindi po yun because we are not talking about those things as far as financing education is concerned. In which, by which learning outcomes could be assessed. You don't remember or you did not read your article.
Sir, is it the quantity and the quality output, sir?
Quantity and quality. What do you mean by quantity?
Sir, quantity refers to, say, for example, years of schooling, something like that, sir. Yun po, sir. Samantalang yung quality output, sir, we refer to learning outcomes such as test result from the PISA, something like that. Yun po yung pagkakaintindi ko, sir.
Actually, yung quantity refers to the number of pupils or students going
Number
to
of...
school. Yun ang
Okay, sir.
quantity of students graduating from such an educational system. Yung quality is different. Standards by which you can measure. There are standards by which you can measure quality education. To see you, why do you say that you are acquiring in UCU? Compared to other graduate school, for example, I can mention graduate schools in Baguio, graduate schools in Dagupan, some graduate schools in Dagupan. How can you say that you are getting quality education in the graduate school in UCU?
Hello, sir. Mr. Prestosa.
Yes, right.
Quality school in UCU, one good example will be quality school because, we are gone into a process while other school na sinasabi nyo, Dagupan or Baguio, it just if you have enough amount of money, you can get a diploma, something like that.
There is still existing some kind of practices like that. No? There are some institutions that offer courses in the graduate school na hindi na kailangan ng thesis, hindi na kailangan ng dissertation. Basta na lang you can pass their courses, so you attend their courses, okay na, di ba?
Kasi sir, uso na ngayon yung sir, hello sir. May I butt in, sir?
Yes.
Kasi sir, uso na kasi kayo just yung sir, instant, mayroong instant noodle, instant coffee. So instant diploma is also available.
Sir, instant thesis din, sir, instant dissertation.
Sana wala dito sa UCU, no? Okay, anyway, yung may standards kasi, unang-una, masasabi mo na quality education kung you examine the curriculum, best practices of higher education institutions. Curriculum can be at par with UCU or with PSU, for example. The courses in the curriculum are concerned. It can be at par with other institutions, like, for example, St. Louis University or even UP, because the curriculum of UCU is patterned after the curriculum of other institutions of higher learning, UP, USD. I can remember when we were trying to formulate and put in the curriculum of the graduate school in UCU, I can remember that we got some copies of the curriculum of UP, some copies of the curriculum of Pangasinan State University, and of St. Louis University, and other universities. And then we tried to compare each one of those, and then got the standard from those institutions. Kumbaga, as far as curriculum is concerned, we are at par with other higher education institutions, especially in the graduate school. Another thing is, how about the faculty that are employed in the institution, in the university? Can you give some assessment regarding those? Well, how can you say that the professors may be pwedeng sabihin, okay, itong professor na ito, okay, itong professor na ito, hindi. Can we have a way of knowing
Comparison.
who is good, who is not?
Making a comparison, sir.
Ah, can you say something about that?
Yes sir. Regarding po sa faculties na hina-hire ng UCU, is to be specific yung UCU sa UCU na lang. They screen the professors or the instructors they hired. Hindi lang basta yung
Okay.
mga hina-hire na nagtuturo
Yeah,
sa
even in other institutions. So, no, even in other institutions, the private institutions, halimbawa, so
Ayos, sir.
they also screen their instructors and professors. But what's the difference?
Yes, sir. Maybe, hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Experience and
Yes,
skill. Skill.
Opo, sir.
Huh?
In UCU po ata, sir, they're undergoing evaluation. Parang every end of the quarter ba? Nag-evaluate ba sila sa ranch doon? Opo, parang isa
Yeah,
rin.
there is a required evaluation.
Opo,
But
ayun.
more than that, you can look into their qualification. Sino yung mga professors?
Yes, sir.
Diba?
Yes, sir. Their
It will be-
qualifications.
It will be easy to look into the faculty qualification. Makita mo kung sino yan. Ang galing yan.
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. Another is you can judge a quality education coming from an institution, from a certain university, by looking at the facilities. Diba? Okay. Dyan sa UCU, of course, mayroon pa rin mga pagkukulang. Halimbawa, kung mayroon ta face-to-face ngayon, nakikita ninyo yung mga classrooms, mayroon pa rin mga kulang. Pero if you look around in Ordaneta, in institutions in Ordaneta, institutions in Dagupan, also in Baguio, you can see na there is not much difference. Pagka sinabi kong not much difference with those that are quality institutions as well. Yung mga bigger institutions, for example, you see with Pangasinan State University, for example, you can go to their library, you get them on difference. You can also look into the systems of enrollment, systems of services in the university. They are at par. UCU is are with other institutions. That's why you can judge the quality of graduates from that part by looking into the curriculum, by looking into the qualifications of the faculty, by looking at their systems that are existing at the university, also the facilities that are in the university. So, okay. Meron tayong bagong mga topics Natanggap na ba ninyo yun ngayon? I just the basis of budgeting in educational management. What could be the basis of budgeting in educational institutions? Have you think about how have you thought about that? Ano kaya ang basis ng budgeting? Okay, let's not go to higher education institutions. Let's just look into your own institutions, in your own schools. Ng budgeting ninyo dyan. School budgeting.
Enrollment, sir. Population.
The population, sir.
Population is one. Another.
The facilities. The facilities, sir.
Facilities.
sir.
Existing facilities, of course.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then, ano ba?
Salary of
The-
teachers.
Come again?
Salary of teachers.
Salary, sir. Salaries of
Okay. Personal services. Ano?
Personal service.
All right. Another one? Yes, Fidel.
Sabi na ho sir, with regard sa enrollment ho usually kapag public school. Kasi based sa MOOE.
Kasali din yata yung number of teachers.
Enrollment and
Number
po, sir, number of graduates.
Okay.
Sir, salary po ng mga employees.
Salary ng mga employees. In other words, ano ito? In general, you can specify this in one word. What is it? The basis for budgeting in educational institutions is what? Just one word.
One word.
Sir, expenses.
Anything else?
It is the resources.
Resource.
Resources, sir.
Ano pa?
Allocation.
Ano pa? Okay, I'll tell you.
Services. Operation service.
It is based on the need. Kung anong pangangailangan, di ba? Di ba? Enrollment.
Yeah.
Pagka malaki yung enrollment mo, malaking need yun. Kung
Malaki
matataas
ang
ang,
mo.
matataas ang sweldo ng mga teachers mo, mga faculty mo, there's a need. Okay? Ano ba? Mga existing facilities. If you need updated or additional facilities, there's a need.
Learning facilities, something like that.
Learning facilities.
Resources.
Ayun nga, there's a need.
Needs.
So it is based on the need.
Needs.
Okay. Now, so need of the students, need of the faculty and staff, need of the facilities, needs of programs that are existing in the school, and so on. Diba? Need. Okay. Don't forget that. It is based on need. Now, how do we analyze the need of educational institutions? Now, let's go to your school. How do you analyze your need? Are there some ways by which you can analyze your need? Paano mo malaman kung anong pangangailangan mo? Anong kailangan mo sa taong nito o next year, for example? Paano mo malaman? Yes, Emiliano, are you saying something?
Yeah, assess.
Based
Yes.
on the program offered, sir.
Yun nga, how do we know? What is a process by which we can assess the need of your institution? The need Your school. Lorima.
It it's information gathering, sir. So say for example, we need to have information on need what are the things that we need in school.
What do you call that? Information gathering. What do you call that?
Needs
Sir,
assessment.
Assessment.
We
Gathering
we are talking
reports.
about ways by which we can assess the need of your
Uh,
school.
Sir,
sir,
evaluation.
Sir, inventory.
inventory.
Those are parts of that particular system, particular
we're
process.
basing
Meron
on
kasing
the
But
kwan, meron
there's a specific name for those particular assessment.
sir, may ginagawa kasi na annual procurement plan na
Ano yun? Yung plan nga is based on the need, but what is the
yes, sir.
process or what is the tool by which you can know the need?
performance, sir.
Hindi ah. Parte ng ina-assess yan.
Data analysis, sir.
Ha?
Data analysis. So from the information that we gather, we are going to make a data analysis so that we can
You,
allot a particular budget on something, sir.
you call that situational analysis.
Analysis.
Remember that term, situational analysis.
Sir, thank
Okay? Number one, assessment tool that is being used in the public school is situational analysis. All right? Now, what are the parts of the situational analysis? Kung you have been a part of the situational analysis of your school, you know some parts. Before you start the situational analysis, ano yung first part of it? Hmm?
Perhaps we gather data, sir.
What data?
Data in all aspects or in the school. Like say, for example, the inventory, the
In other
students'
words,
need, mga ganon, sir.
yes.
So
In
everything.
other words, it is background information on the present situation. Present situation, di ba?
Present
You, have,
situation.
you don't know where how you will be going ahead in the next year if you don't know your present situation. So, becomes your background information in the situational analysis. Okay? Needs assessment. So, you evaluate the student, number of graduates, number of enrollment at the beginning of the year, number of faculty members, qualification of faculty members, or teachers, I mean. The existing facilities, ilang is classrooms, ilan ang dilapidated na, ilan bang pwede pa naman, di ba? So it is a background information on the existing or existing condition of the school. All right, that's number one. The second is ready
Process.
When you know background ready, you have background information, present condition, what will you do? Or this analysis. Nagiging parte ba kayo sa situational analysis in your own school?
No, sir, no.
No?
Yung mga call lang, sir, mga administrator.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Only the administrator, sir, at saka yung mga department heads.
Are you not providing them with information?
No, we are part of the situational analysis because we teachers, tayo yung nagpo-provide ng data sa ating mga administrator.
All teachers are providing information for the administrators to work on. It is the administrators probably who will be doing the actual analysis. But of course, some administrators will delegate the writing of the situational analysis to some teachers. A very good administrator will delegate that. Hindi niya kaya lahat yan. Okay, ikaw. Sir na, Romeo, gawin mo yung situation natin sa mga physical facilities. Diba? Ikaw, Salvador, you look into our curriculum. Give us data on the graduates, Elvera. Di ba ganun? Ariel, you look into the possibility of the need of having another program. Na ganun, di ba? So in other words, the responsibility is distributed. Although, pagka natapos na, it is in the name of the school head. Whether the school head is a teacher or the principal or district supervisor. Talagang ganun naman, di ba?
Yes, sir.
When I was in the elementary, kasi naging elementary school teacher din ako eh. I've been in the DepEd for 10 years. In the elementary level, 2 years in the high school. Administrator ko, you do this, you do that. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Then when the time na kailangan ko na gawin yun, ako nang gagawin ko. Kasi I've been a part of the procedures of its assessment, di ba? Alright, so after you have gotten information on the background of the present condition, what will be next?
Sir.
Yes.
Ariel
Ariel.
po. Sir, based from the data that you have collected, then the next process is you have to identify the priorities and opportunities po.
Okay?
Yes po, sir.
And opportunities. And then, based on that, when you have identified...
Planning na, sir. Planning stage.
Repeat. Every planning must have this particular part. Before you can even plan, make the plan, have this particular aspect. And that is, you formulate your objectives. After you have known your priorities and your opportunities, you formulate your objectives. Objectives. So, background information or conditions, present condition, then you have the identification of priorities and opportunities, then you have objectives, and then you can go on with your planning. Okay? Di ba ganun? Planning. Okay. Sabihin natin na mayroon ng plan. Ano pa ang dapat i-append? Meron ng plan.
Budgeting is the next po.
Ano?
Budgeting, sir.
The budgeting.
Yes, sir.
Nandoon na sa plano yun. The budgeting itself is in the plan already. Now, what do you need pag natapos na yun? You're making the report already. So this whole situational analysis, what do you need? What do you need to attach?
SIP, sir?
Resources,
What is
sir.
that?
SIP, sir. Strategic improvement plan po.
Ayun na, nandoon na sa plan na ngayon. After having the objective, meron ka ng plan. And the budget, the plan will constitute your strategies and your budgetary allocations. And then what skill do you supporting documents? Kala kakalimutan nyo, mga litrato, mga... Diba? Kailangan din ninyo yun. Mga supporting documents. Picture. A number of, yung previous enrollment ninyo for the last 3 years, for example. Diba?
Kulang, Abi.
In other words, ito yung parts ng situational analysis. Una, background information on the present condition or situation. Then you have priorities and opportunities. Then you formulate your objectives and then plan proper. Planning proper will include all the activities that you will be doing and the budgetary allocation for it. Yun ang plano, no? Activities, nandun yung programs ninyo, nandun na rin yung budgetary allocation nyo for each activity or program. And then, if you're done with that, you have to give supporting documents. Attach supporting documents. All right. Now, in your school, if you're in the public school, pagka natapos na yung situational analysis na yan, where do you submit this situational analysis? Usually, you wait for a notice na mag-submit na kayo ng ganito. Diba? But you do not need to do that. You can do your situational analysis and submit at once. Or, if you are in the elementary, if you are in the high school level, you can give it to your principal. The highest principal, if there is the highest principal, kasi may mga schools that are large, they have principal 4, and they have principal 2, 3, ganun. So you give to the principal who is in charge of the whole campus. And give a copy to the division office. You make another copy for the regional office. Diba? Ito yung sinasabi natin na being proactive with situational analysis na ganito. The officials to be calling for it. You do it yourself and then make the initiative. Ito yung situational analysis namin. Ito yung plano namin, budgetary plan namin. Diba? That's being proactive. All right. So number 1 tool is the situational analysis. Number 2. Number 2. I think you have taken this up in your master's level. Management. It is one of the so-called environmental scanning tool. Now you remember? It is the SWOT. Remember?
Yes.
SWOT. SWOT.
Strength, weakness.
Strength,
Opportunity.
weaknesses. O is opportunities. And then T is threat. Threat. Alright. So, ganun. May mga SWOT. When you conduct the SWOT analysis, You can also, that will provide you with the background information already. And then after you have done the SWOT, you are able to identify the opportunities and the threats. And that will be a basis for your planning, your activities, and budgetary allocation for every activity that you'll be having. All right. Then there's number three. Number three, it is a modification of the SWOT. What is it? Mayroon pa rin yung strength. What is next?
As an analysis.
Ha?
As an analysis. Well,
Yung S is strength pa rin. Gaya ng SWOT. What is next? The next is P. Pressures. Pressures, hindi weakness. Ito pinaka-updated na analysis. It is the SPOT. S-P-O-T. Pressures, opportunities, and then the threats. Weakness and the pressure. Weakness. Awang yung weakness. Sure. By the way, what is the difference between weakness and pressure? And why is it that they change weakness with pressure? Rather than weakness, they call it pressure. Oh, what's the difference between a weakness and a pressure? It's negative, di ba? Pressure is more positive than the weakness. Most people do not like to discuss their weaknesses, especially when you are using it as an analytical tool to your administrators. You don't like weakness to be, sabi nga, mayroon tayong, what do you call this? There is a saying commonly known by everyone, dirty linens in public. Kasi the dirty linens can a portrait of weakness. Diba? Don't wash your dirty linens in public. Sabi ganun. Mabulgar yung mga weaknesses. So therefore, they found a word which will replace weakness, and it is called pressure. Now, what's the difference between weakness and pressure? One is negative, one is positive. More positive naman yung pressure, di ba? Pressure. Tingin sa dictionary.
Maybe, sir, when you say pressure, there is an eagerness to do the activity. Parang ganon, sir.
Uh-huh.
There is an
Maybe that's
eagerness.
you are telling us about the effect of that word. Pero what is the difference between weakness and pressure? Pagka tinranslate natin sa Pilipino yan, kahinaan yung weakness di ba? Mo bang ilantad yung kahinaan mo? But that is kaya pinalitan nga ng spot yung suit. Kasi yung suit, may lalantad yung kahinaan di ba? Lalabas yung kahinaan. Pero pressure is what? It's something. What does a pressure do? Pressure to do something. What does that do to you?
Something to
Persuade,
Hmm?
sir.
Huh?
Pressure persuades somebody to do a certain task.
A pressure is a push, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It is a push. Something that forces you to do something.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is an
Yeah.
influence.
So what usually is this? You recognize that these are pressures because what? Why do you recognize this as pressures?
Because there are actions. There are actions to be taken, sir. That's why.
Kaya nga. How can you recognize these pressures? Why do you consider them pressures?
kasi it's a force for you to do something. Kaya pressure po siya.
No, but kung weakness, kailangan mo, kung alam mo naman yung weakness mo, somehow, pressure to do something about it, di ba? But there is something there in pressure that is more beneficial to the writer of the analysis, and it is more positive as far as your reporting is concerned.
Maybe, sir.
Sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe weakness is more of a hindrance. That is why it has been changed into a pressure. Yeah, because pressure is more of something that, like we have said a while back, that it's something that pushes us to accomplish a certain task. So instead of just presenting the hindrance or how big uh, the wall is in accomplishing a certain task, perhaps pressure would present us opportunities on how we can attain or achieve a certain objective. Thank you.
Okay. Of course, they present something like that. It is a hindrance, a barrier, a hindrance. But in a weakness, there's very little that you can do about it. In a pressure, thing that you can do about it, and you would like to do something about it because there's something that you can do about it. Pero pagka weakness, it is a hindrance and possibly you cannot do something significant about it. Hindi ba? For example, you have teachers, your teachers, for example, including yourself, do not have a doctor's degree. All of them are BS. They do not even have a master's degree because their master's degree are just some units in the master's level. They have not graduated from a master's degree. That, of course, is a weakness as far as qualification of the teacher is concerned. But it is a pressure. It becomes a pressure because there is something that you can do about it. Di ba? That's why most teachers who recognize that weakness, that hindrance, that particular situation, will have the motivation to go to graduate school and finish their graduate studies. Di ba? Ayun. Okay, so pagka-weakness, there is little that you can do about it. But when it is pressure, there is something that you can do about it. And it is possible to attain it, to remove that pressure so that you can go on to the other things that need to be done. All right, so I hope you remember that we have three analytical tool for our needs. Needs assessment can be done by situational analysis. It can be done by SWOT. It can be done by SPOT. The more modern or more updated tool is the SPOT. SPOT is standing for strength, pressure, O for opportunity, and T for threat. Okay. Now, what's the difference between pressure and threat? Threat. Threat naman ngayon. Ano naman yung threat? Again, threat presents a hindrance. Di ba? But how different is a threat from pressure, from weakness? Matindi yung threat, yung pressure. What do you think?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, mas matindi po yung threats kaysa sa pressure. Kasi pag sinabi po nating threats, I think these are anything that could damage an organization, sir. And it is more negative po.
Uh-huh. But how can you differentiate a threat from a weakness or a pressure? Kung pareho lang sila na hindrance, they are the same. They are the same as far as hindrance is concerned. A hindrance to your planning, to your activity, to your progress in your institution. Which one is more permanent, a threat or a pressure? Which is long term as far as the timeline is concerned? Which is long term? A pressure or a threat? Salvador, are you saying something?
Ah, napindot lang sir. Pero ah halos magkakaparehas. Pero parang mas grabe yung sir, yung pressure.
Mas grabe ba? Bakit?
Kasi yung
Consider that.
threats refers to factors that have the potential to harm an organization. Parang hindi pa nangyari. While pressure, andun na yung pressure eh.
Uh-huh.
Sa akin lang po sir, sa akin.
Long term.
Which is long term?
Long. Pressure.
Which is pressure is long term.
Pressure po yung long term, tapos yung threat po
Yes, sir.
yung ngayon lang. Kasi pwede mo siyang maayos yung threat. Kasi alam mo na nandun na siya, so pwede ka nang
Yeah.
magbigay ng solution. Yung pressure kasi,
Yes.
kunyari, you are number one,
Yes.
your company is number
Yes, sir.
one, yung pressure to maintain that level, nandoon palagi every day.
Saka, another meaning of...
Pressure is shorter in term, short term
Tama.
as far as intensity is concerned. A threat is more intense. But short term. Okay, you have anything more to say? Eddie, we did not hear from you this time. What can you say about the threat?
Yes, sir. So I think yung threat nga is imposing danger. Mas ano po siya, kumbaga sa level, in terms of level of damage na pwede niyang na maging result nun sir is mas ano yung damage na pwedeng inflict nung threat sir compare kay pressure. Kasi si pressure, although sabi nga nila it's a long term, kaya mo siyang you can control that, sir.
Okay, you can defer it a little, huh?
Yes, sir.
But the threat, you need to pay attention to it and do something about it immediately. But as far as intensity, the threat is more intense. However, as far as the timeline is concerned, it is just for a short time to pay attention to it and do something about it. Okay? You learn something about this, our discussion this afternoon. New to you. We have been discussing suit for master's degree. And you might probably have been discussing this kind of scanning in your own schools. So it is not actually new. It is this time as a specific environmental scan or needs assessment tools in your analysis. A comment regarding our discussion this afternoon? Anna, Your next assignment will be the Philippine budget process. Yan sa group chat natin, ano? I posted it in our group chat. Natalakay natin yung basis for budgeting in education institutions. Three tools by which we can know needs. This time, for your assignment, a Philippine budget process, which include budget call, pala yung budget bugit na nakalagay. Should be budget call, budget preparation, budget hearing, budget approval and implementation. So that will be your next paper. You do that within the week para may upload na ninyo before Saturday. Did before our class. Okay? Is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Maliwanag ba yan sa
Yes.
inyo?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes, sir.
All right. Again,
Noted, sir.
yung treatment natin dito sa topic nito, the budget, Philippine budget process, gaya din ng dati, you look into the outline. Yung outline natin is the title, your name, tapos what is it all about, ano ang reaction mo to that to the description of what is it all about. Do you disagree? Meron bang comment regarding it? Ganyan, your reaction to the information. Meron kayong pwedeng subtopics. Ano yun? How do you with the school budget call? Sa budget preparation, those are subtopics, budget hearing, budget approval and implementation. So with that, if there are no more comments, there are no more question regarding what our next topic will be, our next reaction paper, which is entitled The Philippine Budget Process. Wala na? So, okay, picture muna tayo before we dismiss. We will do the